And there's a place that I've dreamed of, where I can free my mind. I hear the sounds of the season and lose all sense of time. Feels like we're in a dream, you know what I mean.
Right there, Kent McIntosh.
And right there is all the information that you need to know. Limited spots still available for our CFN retreat happening in September. Love to see you folks there. Love to see anybody there that we haven't seen before. That's what it's all about, getting new people together and meeting new people and having a whole lot of fun doing it while we're fishing. How's everybody tonight? Hope you guys had a half-decent weekend. What a weekend we have in store weather-wise, and we will be getting to that because there's some concern. There's some joy. A lot of folks are saying it's about freaking time. Had enough of the cold, but nonetheless, we're going to enjoy it. I hear in Southern Ontario, it could possibly get up to 16 degrees this weekend. Whoa. Yeah. But tonight and last night is still a reminder that it's still winter. And let's face it, winter is still going to show that she's still around. And old man winter is going to kick us in the butt when we least expect it. How you doing tonight, Bruce? Nice to have you along. As always, my friend, getting ready for the Toronto Sportsman Show. I'm sure you are. Stephen, always a pleasure to have you. Tricia, I do believe someone told me it's your birthday. If it is, and I just got it. It was just sent to me. Happy birthday. What are you, like, what is it, 29? 29, 31? You got to be old enough to vote. I know that. Anyway, I hope you're having a wonderful birthday, you and Amber and the rest of the family. You guys sit back and enjoy what should be pretty informative, pretty fun show. Looking forward to lots of discussion. Terry's, how you doing, my friend? As always, it's a pleasure to have you along. Mark Wilson in the house. Mark, you still needing extensions up there for the ice? Is it still that thick? I know you talked about that last week. I'm sure it is, but there is some relief coming for those who want it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you still want to get out for your first ice fish. But needless. Oh, and I wanted to say our contest is got. In fact, we posted it on Thursday last week, and I think we got more submissions last Thursday than we have got in any other week, to be quite honest with you. So it is still alive and well. This is actually really cool because we're going to be adding more prizes. This is going to be quite a prize pack when it's all said and done. So if you've got a first fish and you haven't posted it yet, you're going to have a chance again on Thursday. If we go the whole week and we don't get a new fish pick within the comments, then it continues to the next week. And as the longer it goes on, the bigger the prize pack will get. But needless to say, lots of entries. We're going to verify all that, make sure that it gets updated so that this Wednesday everybody knows who is verified, who's qualified, and who's got a chance to win. Bob, always a pleasure to have you along. How you doing, my friend? Eve's in the house. These are all the boys from Ottawa. Ed McKenzie's here. Cheers to you, my friend. Hope all is well with you. Tony's in the house, as always. Thanks so much, Tony, for joining us, as you always do. There he is, my right-hand man, Mr. Steve Shaw. Thanks for being with us, buddy. Gary, really a pleasure having you here as well. Really excited. We are going to be starting up the Power Hour on Wednesday. This Wednesday, Danny and I we're teaming back up together, and we're going to be starting it for 2026. We have an interesting segment, and we're going to be joined by Lewin Harrison as well as our good buddy Christian De Silva. And it's going to be a unique. We'll maybe get some of the lads to chime in on this tonight. But I'm really intrigued. I know we always talk about what we need to do for the next gen of anglers. We're going to be talking to two lads that are already there. And one is a little bit further ahead in his tournament journey than the other. But we want to hear their stories. And we'd love to hear your input. What do we have to do to get the next generation of anglers involved in tournaments, as participants, as volunteers, and potentially as tournament directors, as organizers. Unfortunately, as I said, we're getting very long in the tooth, those who are organizing these events, and it's nice to see that next generation. Again, they're busy pursuing, but I'm just interested to hear how Christian and Aiden got into it. What fed them and what pushed them in that direction? Was it are they just competitive by nature? Is it something that they've always wanted to do, or was there that aha moment that went on? So really interested to see their take. And I was talking to Jay before we went live here. We're going to get Trevor involved. We're going to get some of the young CFNers that are big followers to engage themselves and basically share, what it is we need to know as older anglers to generate that passion in the next generation of anglers that are coming up. So it's going to be an interesting topic. I do believe Christian's going to be doing a product review as well. So, and again, we're going to try and intertwine the Monday night lives with the Wednesdays. I'm not really sure how we're going to do that just yet, but I'm really excited because we're getting some new meat, if you will, some new blood, and we're going to get their take on how they see things. We've listened to Jim, we've listened to Lawrence, we've listened to Jay. And we've been lucky to do so. I can't thank these three enough for all they've given to our community and our CFN lives. But I'm sure they are as well, just as excited as I to hear that next generation of anglers. Tell us what they think. Tell us what they feel. Really interested in that. So, Gary, thanks so much for helping that along. Lloyd's in the house. How you doing, my friend? Richard's here. There's a whole whack of you. Yeah, baby. Luke's in the house. People with absolute dude. Amen. There he is, Peter Leduc. Still snow. Yeah, I bet you are, my friend. But spring is in the air. I'll be pulling the shock off to avoid this. I bet you. Yeah, sure. Unfortunately, that's going to be what everybody's going to be wrestling with a little bit. There's Sarah. How you doing, Sarah? Nice to have you along. Rob's in the house. Has been crazy, but I still have a big box. Bless you, my friend. And we will put it to good use, and our CFNers will love us for. Keith Duster's in the house. Holy smokes, we got quite a few of you watching tonight. All right, well, you know what? Let's get started. There's the band that I was just talking about, Christian. Looking forward to you on Wednesday, man. No pressure. No pressure. Jeremy's here. Well, okay, let's get started. First and foremost, let's make a couple of announcements. We need to make sure that we're not only just promoting our events, but we're promoting others, because that's what we do. And for those who are interested and are up in the Algoma region, this weekend is the Children's Perch Derby. They put this on every single year. It is they have such a great turnout, but lots of visitors, lots of fun. The information is there. If you need more, we'll probably post it on Friday. We'll be featuring a lot of these events upcoming, but Algoma does some great work for the kids up there, and this Children's Perch Derby is just another example of that. So good luck to the folks up there, and hoping that everything goes well. Also, for those who love their toothy critters, the Hearst Pike Fever, this is all part of MFN Fishing, but Christelle Valet, who is my counterpart when I'm up in the north with all the various walleye derbies and tournaments, they have quite a payout here for a pike derby that goes on up in the Hearst area, and it's on that lake, Pivabisca. I hope I got that right. Pivabisca. It is for their annual pike tournament, and all the information you need there. If you're up in the Hearst area, by all means, give Christelle or Julie a ring, and they will certainly get your butt booked in their event. But they always have great events, and they're always well attended. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, please, by all means. And of course, something else that's going on this weekend, our good friend Cody reminded us, March 7th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. This is it's a kids event. It's kids ice fishing event. Might be, we'll see what happens when it comes to the conditions. Obviously, they're going to be deteriorating a little bit due to the warm weather, so we might need to get on some anti-skid spikes or just shoes, be cautious out on that water. But this is a great little kids event, and our good buddy Cody Ryan reached out to us, and CFN is a proud sponsor of this. So you will be getting a prize pack courtesy of all of our wonderful sponsors like Ugly Boys, like Adrian Custom Jigs, and a whole whack others that we were able to put together because of our wonderful partners. So good luck to that event, and to all who attend. Should be a good time. And before we bring in Jim, I just wanted to congratulate Roselle on yet another great event, Prairie Gal Fishing.
Do it.
Absolutely. As the song would indicate, another great outing. Roselle does some fantastic work out in the province of Manitoba, and you can tell by all the smiles on the faces, everybody's having a good time. They've got a rod in their hand, as they should. Lots of ice, lots of bevies, lots of fun. Awesome to see. As always, Roselle, you do us proud. And quite a gathering for all those who went. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So for all those who did enjoy a great outing with Roselle and Prairie Gal Fishing, looking forward to next year. I'm sure you are. Well, that's it for all the announcements that I wanted to talk about. We're going to bring in Big Jim to talk a little bit more about upcoming shows right after this.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
Yo.
What's going on, dog? How you doing? You're looking good, man. Might I say, might I be the first to say that tonight?
I'm aiming for 100 now. I made my mind up.
You're living to 100?
Yep.
I'm totally good with that. Who? Show of hands. Who's in favor? Say aye.
I'm going to be like the old Herman joke when they used to have the union vote, and he'd get the back with the 2x4 on the pole with all the gloves on the stickers. Oh my God.
That is funny. Oh wow. That is priceless.
Do you remember that?
I do actually remember that. Holy smokes, man. Big Jim, you had a great anniversary. Yes. Happy belated anniversary to you two crazy kids.
Yep.
How many years now, Jim?
I take my pants down and take my shoes off. Wait, 43. 43.
Holy smokes.
Same as it would have been somewhere else, but
Yes. I didn't want to bring that up. I was really hoping you weren't going to bring that up. You know what? 43 years, a lot could be said about that. But you know what?
Thanks, guys.
That kind of loyalty is it's I don't want to say it's a dying breed, but you don't hear of wedding anniversaries that go that far, especially with the younger folks. And I don't mean any disrespect, but yeah, it's tough to get to 20. Never mind 40.
So I got new wheels on my chair. They're really cool wheels. They're 4 inches and they're a little round ball bearing thing.
I can see you're having fun.
I keep rolling away.
I can see you're having fun.
You just see me disappear out, come back in. I'll get a rope, put a ring in the wall, and pull myself back.
That's awesome.
Oh God.
Tony, thanks for mentioning that. The ice fishing derby that's going on. Thank you for mentioning that. As I said, we'd love to be able to promote and get to all of the great events that go on across Canada, but there's just so many to follow. And Jim, with that being said, we do have some interesting weather upcoming. But before we talk about that, let's quickly talk about some of the upcoming shows. This is show season, and of course, March 19th.
Big one, eh?
This is the big one. Yeah, I would have to say that a lot of folks are waiting for this show. They anticipate this every year. It seems to grow every year, and I know that Mike is boasting that I think he's upwards of 40 new vendors this year.
I heard that from a couple of people. Yeah, and it's really cool because I remember the old days when we first started doing shows, and we'd be there for 10 days from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. There was years right in the beginning they had 200. I think they had 235,000 one year when I was there. When it was over, and they had the highest it ever was for a year was just a little over 250. So just think, 250,000 people.
It was staggering numbers, and the fact that it would go on for 10 days, it seemed like, I remember as a kid, oh, don't worry, we'll go next weekend, or we'll go throughout the week, and before you knew it, the show was over and you had missed. And that was the other thing. Every day was jam-packed with an incredible guest, a great speaker, or some featured presentation that was going on. I'd like to say that Mike is doing his very best to try and recapture what
he is too. Every year it's a little more, eh? It's
he's doing a fantastic job. So for folks who are interested, it starts Thursday, March 19th. We are going to have the Made in Canada down there as well. We'll see some ads coming up in the coming days, just to promote some of the great vendors that have basically fallen into a great opportunity that Brad and I were able to put together with Mike's help, and I think they're going to benefit that. For those who do want to go, of course, there's always a promo code to save a little bit of money. So if you want, you can pay your tickets early, and that is the code that you use. So
wow, 20%.
That's a big savings.
Yeah,
that's a really big savings. Unreal. And then, of course, we have CanCast, which I would say is the little show that has exploded. And now they've got the Odyssey along with it as well, which I think, for both parties, it was a great addition.
Oh yeah,
a great addition to have.
It was this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'll do them both good. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is just, this started off as the Bowmanville tackle swap.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
First year when Peter Cito had it.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete did a great job of starting it, and then he passed it off to Kyle.
Yeah.
And it, Kyle just, he's just, fallen into a few things and done such a tremendous job of promoting it.
Yeah,
like
he sure is.
If you're into fishing and you spend some time on the internet, whatever, you can't get away from that show.
No, 100%. Lots of great vendors down there. It is basically very much the reunion and the last of the big shows, if you will. And I think what happens after this is what most of us are looking forward to. We're getting a little bit of a taste of that this weekend, Jim. And something that I know, have been following is the migration of ships in our Great Lakes. And I'm happy to report that this area of Port Huron is wide open, and you do see a little bit of ice in there, Jim, but the boats are starting to sail.
Yeah. When I found that website and started watching it, I thought it was so cool. It's just a really, really cool thing. Now, see, I know that ship's not loaded.
No.
Because the water line's way up.
It sure isn't. No.
Yeah. As it hits the bridge, no.
And it's moving at a good clip for a big.
I know. Like, you don't stop those things, It's not like, taking your hand off the gas on a 4x4 or whatever, or a skidoo. I mean,
100%. So now we've spent pretty much the whole winter leading up to the winter, and now we're at the 2/3 mark, if you as they say, the final turn, and then hopefully we'll get into spring full time. But again, this is where we start to worry again, right, Jim? When it comes to safe ice, unsafe ice.
Well, one of the things I've been sending you. Yeah. There's. I don't know. It seems to be, we got away not too bad at the beginning of this year. And obviously because it was a little chillier than normal, it wasn't really bad, but, the whole winter hasn't really been bad. If you look, compared to what it was 10 or 15 years ago, this was, sort of like almost like a not even a routine winter when we were kids, Scotty, or when I was a kid,
It was like, this is what a typical winter as I remember it was. It was snow event after snow event, and I'd like to say that we did get a melt every once in a while, so you seem to gain room to put it somewhere else when another event.
Remember, we used to get the January thaw.
Yep.
I mean, we got the first two snowfalls we got this year melted back to grass, and one of them was about 8 inches of snow and the other one was like 20.
Yeah.
So if they wouldn't have melted, the snow would be pretty darn high,
100%. 100%.
No.
With that being said, of course, folks are either getting close to the end. I know some seasons of fish do close in the month of March.
Well, Quinny's closed now, right?
I believe it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the division. Oh, I forget. I don't know the numbers anymore. But yeah, I know it's it's that time of the year, and you just got to be careful. And this is when you start falling through at the shore, not out at the edge.
Yeah.
Out in the deeper water, because the shore melts out faster now. It's getting all the traffic from people driving on and off. The water comes up, it breaks the ice loose. I already noticed the rise. We had that one rainstorm last week here where the snow went down considerably. And I noticed all the creeks, the ice is all crooked in them and bent and whatever, Yeah. So, it gave it a good push up. And the end of the week here, when we get all this rain and it's not the temperatures being high in the daytime. It's that they're showing here at nighttime +5. So it melts all night.
Yeah.
It doesn't tighten up and then go again the next day. So I'm thinking we've got about a good, I would say 35, 38 inches of snow on the ground here. So if that goes fast,
look out.
We're already talking about it above Kingston in the Cataraqui waterway.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I saw video of them blasting ice in Rideau.
Oh, that's the Rideau River in Ottawa. Yeah.
They were blasting ice.
The dam that goes into the Ottawa River, where as a kid I used to walleye fish.
Yeah.
And they cut keys. They have this big blade that they have on this machine. They run it up and down, and they cut the ice, and then they chip those pieces out. They keep them open, and then I think it's about maybe 40 feet across, and they cut a hole, put down a half a stick of dynamite, blow it up, whatever, and it goes over the falls into the Ottawa. But they have to be careful that they don't do too much at once, because if it jams up in front of the falls, then they could have a real problem. And I'm sure that happened a long time ago. That's why they do it like that. But
I just, the whole idea of blasting around a bridge, I just don't, I don't know.
Shallow water too, I mean, it's only
most
of that there is 8-10 feet deep. So there can't be a fish left alive in there.
I can't imagine, no.
But it's what it is.
It is what it is.
It just does, it's what we do. Hey, I was just thinking, about you. There's still the Belleville show too,
Yeah, I didn't get to that. As I said, there was just a few here that I was able to download before we went live. But yes, the Belleville show is coming up as well.
Yeah, I'll be at that one all 3 days. I'll be there with Dan, and who else is going to be there? Brian Sturts will be there. He's going to do some muskie seminars. Ashley Ray will be there again. Yep. She'll be there for the 3 days. We won't have Mr. Chong.
Oh, Chong's not there?
No, he'll be away at the Classic.
Oh, okay.
Because he'll be with Vexus Boats.
Gotcha.
It's got to be there. So that's what he phoned me up. He said to me, "I can't make it. Please tell me you're going to come."
Oh man, we have some vets. You know what? I thought, as much as I admire your 40, you said 43rd anniversary. Yep. Richard, 47. Holy
wow,
smokes! Well done, Richard. Pete's saying the same thing. My favorite saying: "I'll live to 100 because I still have a few more people to piss off." George, 45 years this September. Congratulations!
Don't jump it, I'll be 44 next February, so we're almost tied right now.
Good Lord, Steve, that's right. I remember you mentioning you had an uncle that just turned 100.
Wow.
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Thanks,
it's fantastic stuff. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, you know what we did? We went down into Gananoque. We picked up prescriptions from Tammy. She went into, I forget the name of the place. She goes into the shop, and I went to Tim Hortons to grab her a tea and myself a coffee, and came back. And for our anniversary, we watched what's it called? The last God, I can't remember the names of the movie. What's those ones where they were with what's her name? Having a senior citizen moment where they're down underground in that thing called the Hive. Remember that? And they're huge movies, huge movies. Someone has to remember that.
Like that
with that model girl in them, the one with the short hair.
Is that the Hunger Games? Would that be the Hunger Games?
No. I like those too. Those were really good. But we watched the most recent one of those. It was good.
Okay.
She got me I said I didn't know what to do. She didn't feel like cooking, as she does it a lot now. So she got me a thing that had some phony crab and some real shrimps in it and some cocktail sauce. And that was my anniversary dinner. And I was very happy.
Boom. Shock-a-lock.
Shock-a-lock.
That's right, Richard. The North Bay show as well is coming on. So yeah, I'll have to make sure that as we get closer to these shows, we do our best to promote them. And if there are any discount codes for cheap tickets, maybe Resident Evil.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah, we watched the newest one of those. What's the girl's name in it? She was been in a million movie, big, tall, skinny thing. She used to be a model. Just freaky looking sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know.
He Googled it, I bet.
Well, he may have. But I mean, based on what you told him about a hive and two good-looking girls, I wasn't even sure he would be able to.
He had it on file.
Well, I'm glad.
Resident Evil cast. Watch, I'll find it. I'm young enough to know how to use this. Mila Jovovich.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Now you remember, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at the chair. Okay. I'm starting to roll away again.
I was going to say, is she got a hook on you and she's pulling you in? Like what? That's incredible.
She'd be poking me the other way with it. Get away from me, you dirty pig.
Look at George's Resident Evil isn't the other name for Berkeley.
Not anymore.
Oh, George, I'm telling you. Unreal. Well, Jim, as I said, lots going on, lots happening. We are kind of in that transition.
7:30, you're kicking. Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not kicking you off.
The old guy to the side. I know.
Dear Lord, no, not at all. But, of course, with that transition, obviously you might be starting to put your ice fishing gear away. You might be looking to pull out the boat, get it ready. I don't know. Maybe it's a little early for that. Maybe you're just trying to tie lines, see what you're missing, what you should be stocking up. And is that a good time now to do it with all these shows coming up?
Oh, yeah, really, because that's what I tell people. You know what I mean? The end of the ice fishing season, there's that lull between where you get out, eh? And it's, no better time. Don't wait till you get out there and it's, Friday night of the opener for the walleye. You go, oh, I forgot last fall I got bid off for 6 jigs. I only got 2 left. Oh, you know what I mean? This is the time to do stuff like that. I've watched so many of the elite guys and FLW guys and everything in the States, and they're in there talking, the guys that aren't going to the Classic, they're in there talking about getting all their stuff ready for the rest of the year because the elites have already had 2 tournaments and stuff like that. They have, which Corey Johnson's leading for Angler of the Year.
I saw that, yeah.
A couple of other boys are right up there. Gussie's in a really good spot to start this year.
Awesome.
So it's really good. Yeah, it's hopefully it works out to be a better year for the boys because everybody has an off year. I mean, there's guys out there now that had to requalify, things like that because of the way it works. It's a really confusing system, I tell you. You got to be like an engineer math wise to figure it out when they talk about it. It's just it's crazy. But I think they've changed a couple of things moving to the future too. So that's definitely not going to hurt. It's
well,
they
have hired whoever the brain trust is when it comes to new ideas and new initiatives. Big tip of the hat to them because they are really thinking outside the box. Going
a lot of them, yeah.
The interactive ideas and events that they are coming up with truly are that. They're extremely interactive and they're starting to engage all of their fans, no matter what age they are. So big tip of the hat to Bass for doing that. And sometimes it's difficult to do things that are different because people aren't, so accustomed to change. But I think they've realized sort of the situation that they're in. And not that they have to reinvent themselves by any means, but definitely looking at new ways to engage their audience, build their audience, and grow their following. I think they're going down the right way for that. So
we did a bunch more stuff on Dadson this week. I did it with Pete Bosselman, and here's some of it.
Oof. That's a beaut. That's a beaut, Clark.
The blades, but this one here is really popular. Hey, every time I put it up, they buy it. The blades are silver.
Uh-huh.
And it's the guys that are fishing in super clear water offshore for muskies. Because what are they eating? They're eating silvery looking bait fish, eh? But like some of these things, the guys just this one here was hugely popular.
Oh wow, yeah. Is he selling these at the at CanCast? Is he gonna have
These are all auction things.
Oh, they're auction things. Wow.
Yeah, he'll have a bunch of stuff there. He will have some dads and stuff there, and he will have a pile of stuff there. He always does.
Cool.
Yeah,
I wanted to show you something that I thought was extremely cool, especially and it might be something that I share with Lawrence as well, because I see this as a great it's a great tool for someone who has a disability, especially if you only have the use of maybe one hand.
Okay.
It's also a great idea if you have a young child and you want to, get them used to reeling, but they have, a power assist. I don't know the name of this product. And I'll get you to take a look at it, Jim, just to verify that what I'm seeing is not AI, that it's real. But this looks really cool.
Oh yeah, that's Shimano's had that for years. I don't know if they still have it.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, Shimano's had stuff like that for years. In fact, it was a guy that worked in Ottawa, developed the original ones with them. Bob Reed.
Really?
He owned part of Fishing Buddies, yeah.
Like, that is ingenious.
Exactly the way it worked.
Absolutely
Yeah,
ingenious.
it started off, it was a company called Royal Bee out of the States.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened between everybody, but Shimano made, I think they changed it up a bit and did some different things, and there was no patents involved or anything and that type of thing. And they did really well with it. I know Bob used to just flog them. It was like the number of reels that he converted to do that.
Really?
Incredible. Yeah.
Interesting. Because I remember looking a few years back, somebody was asking me for a power assist reel, and all I could see were the larger reels. I never saw any smaller reels. That's the first
Royal
one.
Bee reels.
Here we go. Google. Or are we allowed to say Google? I don't know. Maybe there's copyright infractions if we say Google.
I'd have to go in and look.
Oh, there! Look at Jeremy Parker. Jeremy Parker. They are the Royal Bee.
That's what I just
Reed
said.
sold a ton of them.
Yeah.
That
It
is
was
so
done with
awesome.
I think it was done with a Shimano. I think it was an FX 2000. Might have
Interesting.
been 2500, but it was one of the others. Yeah.
Well, if you are someone that has an event that has special needs kids, maybe it's something through accessible angling. I can't emphasize this enough, and I would certainly put you in touch with Bob or anybody else that might be able to put
Well,
something.
Bob's long gone though.
Oh, okay. It's a different Bob then. Okay, because as I said, I've never seen this, and all I thought of is how many kids out there that may be a war amputee or maybe were born with a defect, but they just don't have the same ability as
They have big. I think Shimano's is called a Depth Master.
Okay.
Something like that, and I think a lot of companies have them because I've seen other reels on charter boats and they're fishing down 700 feet for a sailfish or not a sailfish, a swordfish, because I guess they live really deep. And it shows them bringing them up 3/4 of the way with the electric reel.
Wow.
With the drag set, yeah, because it just makes it easier.
That's awesome. Jeremy, thanks for stepping in here. Yeah. This is what we love about the show is the interaction with you folks as well, because we don't always have the answers, as Jim can attest. He does, but not all of us do. Jim, what's upcoming this week? I know you're busy getting ready for all the shows.
I got 5 stops tomorrow.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I gotta drop in and see our buddy at Perfect Jig there, Brendan.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna pick up a bunch of jig heads he'd like marabou on, as I do once or twice a year for him, and then I'm gonna skip right to Gagnons. I ordered my bucktails with them, and I gotta pick up my bucktails and check the rack there, and I gotta get to work. I wanted to have their bucktails there in February this year. and I barely started. So
Jeez.
everything else that's out there, and I just got this from the folks down at BJ's.
Is that an order list?
Yeah, it's like 600 jigs. So
No rest for the wicked.
on the wall there, hoping I die before I have to get them done.
You can't
Take
say
away
that
thing.
stuff.
Take away that thing about the 100.
Oh
That
my
wanted
Lord.
to die.
You
No,
can't say that stuff with us around. You can only say that when we're not around. Well, as always, you're a busy man, and we truly appreciate you taking time, as you always do on our Mondays, and spending it with our community. Again, we could never thank you enough
My
for
pleasure,
all
buddy.
you've done, bud. But
My pleasure.
truly appreciate this and the upcoming Mondays that we're going to be able to spend some time with you. So do your list and don't go and die on us, okay?
I doubt it.
Yeah,
Like
I
he
should
said,
say
I don't want to piss anybody off, but I got some stuff to prove now, so it's all good.
that's the man. Right on, buddy. You rock.
Be
Yes,
good, people. Everybody be safe out there. Remember the
Absolutely.
ice now, eh? It's starting to melt at the edge, eh?
absolutely. We've got to stay
So
safe.
how many
100%.
pictures did I send you this week with a truck through, or
Too many. Too damn many.
what? That's the lakes that have 5,000 huts on the weekend, eh?
True enough.
All the cars out there. Well, just down here again in Bath, a guy sent me a note on the weekend, and he said, you know, there's not going to be a lake trout left in Lake Ontario. He said it's just horrible, and he lives right there. He can see it. He said last weekend, he said you could have rolled a bowling ball from hut to hut for a mile. It was just ridiculous.
Wow.
Let's hope they're all going back down the hole.
Let's hope so too, buddy.
You don't
Let's
need to
hope
bring
so too.
25-pound lake trout home because
No, you don't.
you know they're not getting eaten.
You don't want to eat those.
Yeah.
No.
Put them in the pan, and instantly there's 2 inches of oil. I like it.
I gotta start.
To call them when we used to go out and jig for them out there, we used to call them grease wheels. And I know some people talk about a pizza like that. We used to talk about them like that, because I've actually seen carpets on bass boats get ruined from the amount of oil that come out of lake trout.
Yeah.
You put them in the net, you put them on the deck, and they take a minute to get the hooks out, and maybe get a picture before we dump them back in. And we got into the habit. We didn't even want to handle them a lot. We just keep them in the net, get the hooks out, take the net, lift them over the side, and let them go. And at the end of the day, the net, it was like you took grease out of a can for a bulldozer and just rubbed it all up and down. It's amazing what just comes off their body.
It truly is.
But when they're tugging and jerking down there, they're fun.
They sure are. Right on, Jim. Well, you
Hey,
have
Kitties.
yourself a great week, dude. We will talk to you later, man.
My pleasure.
And we've got Lawrence coming up right after a word that he's put together that I think all of us can appreciate and wouldn't mind listening to.
I love fishing. I love being on the water. It gives me a sense of peace. It gives me a sense of the ability to, provide for my family, for my community, to connect with nature. I want to be able to share what I've learned, and I want to be a voice for others who have that knowledge as well and who have those stories. There's a lot of great things going on out there. Person by person, fish by fish, shore by shore. And we can all learn from that and be inspired by that.
Lawrence, it's
Hi.
a great video.
Yeah.
I invite everybody to have a listen to it in its entirety. Everything basically that you're involved with, that you're doing, that you're helping sponsor, foster, and navigate, you talk about in that video, and it's very well done. So welcome as always, and thanks for who you are and what you do. Because as I said, I think there's a lot of things that you do behind the scenes that not a lot of us are aware of. You're certainly getting the recognition for a lot of that these days with the various awards you've received. But it's a great segue. That video was a great segue to get into the topic that you wanted to talk about tonight. So I'll let you take it from there.
Well, I'll just tell you a little bit about that video. First of all, that was Water Rangers was doing a project called Ripples. And they had hired a videographer to meet with different sort of champions of water. And so that guy came out with us for opening day of walleye season on the St. Lawrence River. We were out there probably at 4 a.m. And he shows up in just a windbreaker and a pair of jeans, and I'm thinking, I said, "You got anything else?" He goes, "No, I'll be fine." And I said, "No." And so I made sure I packed some extra stuff. And about an hour later in the boat, I was pulling those stuff out of the compartments and shoving it his way, his sweaters and things. And he was just, someone who didn't spend much time in the boat. And then I'm pulling in one of these big walleyes, and he's trying to move around, and he grabs my the pole that holds the anchor light. And Hank grabs that, and he thinks, my line's going to get hooked on it. So he tries to bend it over, and it just shatters into 10 pieces. And I think, oh, there's a couple $100, but whatever. But anyways, he put that video together, and next thing you know, I'm getting a call from a conservation group in Vancouver. They want me to come out and speak to that video and what we're doing and talk about whether fishing is sustainable. And being part of a panel discussion out there with all those big environmental groups on the West Coast, right? And I think, I'll go sit with those environmental groups out there on the stage and tell them about fishing. No problem. So,
absolutely.
It was a nice trip.
And I will say for the folks out west, I do know that they tune in every Monday to see if there's an update in regards to their efforts and their plight, if you will, that's going on out there. That's currently going on. I know they got some movement on some of the decisions that were made in Ottawa when they were down here for that meeting. I'm not sure if they got exactly the answers that they were looking for, but basically everybody has now gone back into their corners, and I do believe that they're going to revisit and have another meeting in the near future. Am I correct in knowing that?
Well, it's not over for a while. I mean, they've got to work with senior managers and educate the policy. The ones who write the briefing notes, right, for the minister. The minister isn't going to meet with citizens. They might meet with sort of really high up sort of executives that are running giant organizations or associations or companies. But when it comes to citizens and hearing their problems, they want their senior staff to synthesize that information and put it into briefing notes with options. And if it's not what they're looking for, they'll just send them back to the drawing board and say, no, I want you to you didn't listen to these people, you didn't listen to those people. So I think the word is getting out that these briefing notes need to reflect these people's requirements, to keep their fishery alive. I just had them on the podcast. We recorded it last week, and with the group that went to Ottawa, came to Ottawa, the 7 of them, and I interviewed them for the podcast just the day they arrived, and then I interviewed them again 5-6 days after they got back and had a chance to reflect on their trip. And so that podcast went live this past Saturday, and it'll be the 2 podcasts will be featured in the newsletter coming out in the next couple of days, the Bluefish newsletter, along with some other goodies and updates and a little reflection. And I was hoping I could pick your guys' brains a little bit on something.
Well, you know what? We appreciate and pick away, but Sonia has a great comment here, and I think this really echoes all of our sentiments when it comes to you and the other 2 that we have the privilege of hearing every Monday here on live. Sonia goes on to say, it's good to know there are positive fishing ambassadors making contributions to these focus groups. Yeah.
Absolutely. We got it. It's up to all of us to. Yeah, absolutely, Sonia. And you're a great ambassador, and you speak so well and from the heart about fishing in all aspects of it. How you connect to fishing, and you do it in such a a positive way, and it's a positive energy source for you. And we know that you get so much from that, and you give so much back. And I think we all do, right? We all get so much from fishing, and we all want to give back just as much. So it's that kind of relationship, and that those stories that people need to hear. It's not just a business, right?
And really, for someone like yourself who's been doing it for the years that you have, I know I get this feeling every once in a while when I see some new meat, if you will, new blood coming up and basically saying the same things that we are, sort of taking the baton, if you will, and running with it, and giving us I wouldn't say a break, but it's nice to know that you're not the only one standing on that hill crying the same song, that there's others like Lawrence, like Jay, like Jim, who have a vested interest in the fishery, have a vested interest in the future of this fishery, and of course those who are going to enjoy it. So Sonny, well said. But we got one of the best ambassadors right here that does a fantastic job listening, but we're lucky here on Monday Night Lives, we get to hear him talk. One of the things when I was watching that video, which I think is a great segue to what your discussion is tonight, is how at ease you look in the boat. Like, I know you have other people there with you. I get that, but you are at ease. Now, this is years of practice, years of conditioning that has allowed you to do this. But there's something that you mentioned before we went live that is I didn't even think of, and it makes so much sense. And I'm going to let you take it from there.
Yeah, I was putting this article together and looking at, how weather has just been shifting around a lot. Last year we had the winter that really wasn't a winter. And this year we're having all sorts of winter and then not winter and winter again. And, just when you think it's all frozen up, you head out on the ice and you're breaking through the ice into, 6 to a foot of slush and then more ice below that. And, it's just up and down, and, the ice is there, it's gone, it's there, it's gone, it's there on the rivers. And I'm thinking, it's enough to almost discourage you not to go out, right? And you hear a lot of people talking about it, and you think, oh, do I really want to take the risk? Well, already, our insurance company for the charity won't let us take kids on the ice. They made that they drew a big red line under that and said, no, that's not happening. You got no insurance for that. And I wonder how these family-oriented tournaments, ice fishing derbies, let's call them derbies because that's what they are, where they invite families to come out on family fishing weekends and things like that onto the ice to fish. And you wonder, do they even have insurance? They probably don't have insurance. I'm not saying they do or they don't, but I'd be surprised if they could find insurance to put that sort of thing together and keep, in case something happens to one of those kids or a family or whatever. But all that to say, there's a lot of reasons we can point at, fire bans, snow melt, ice up, icy roads, a lot of reasons we can just point at to stay home. But then we got these other things, right? We have GPS now that on just about everything. We have it on our phones. It comes in our vehicles now. It's in our boats. It's on a lot of side-by-sides and snow machines and ATVs now. You can get it, little handlebar-mounted devices like that with trails and on there and GPS, so you know exactly where you are. So we're emboldened with that technology, don't you think? I think we're emboldened to go further, go farther, and spend more time outdoors, depending on the technology. And I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, you're foolish to put hang your safety on one piece of technology, because guaranteed any technology is going to fail at some point." But it's getting us out there. It's giving us the confidence to get out there and discover. And I think we're learning as we go. Don't you?
I 100% agree. And, if there is anything that we have talked about at great length, is how technology is continuously advancing and making our fishing experience that much more enjoyable, if you want it to be. There's a lot of folks that have put up the stop sign and said, no, I'm going to be resistant to this technology. I'm not in favor of it, this, that, and everything else. And that's the beautiful part of fishing, is you have that ability to say how you want to do it, Although you can judge maybe when it's in season when to do it and where to do it, but at the end of the day, I mean, fishing is just it's not just a luxury, it's a right, and folks who have fought for this, we're having the luxury of enjoying it, and anything that can add to it, I think is a plus. And certainly if it's going to keep you safe, like a GPS unit, I don't want to ever say it should be mandatory, but if you're someone that's not familiar with a certain body of water, it's a great thing to have. It's better than a life jacket, in my opinion, because if you're someone that does like to fish a little bit late into the evening, and you're up in an area like the French River where there's bays all over the freaking, you get caught and lost on a good day on bright sunshine. So GPS unit, whether it's on your dash of your boat or something that you hold in your hand, I think it's something that we're really going to need to purchase going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that track system, like, we have GPS and it works on maps. Like, blind people use GPS. We all have these GPS systems that were developed for blind people to get around, cities, and to get you close to the door, get you close. So, not right to the door, but as close as you need to. And there's other things we can do to find doors, but definitely get you around cities that you don't know. And now, they have systems where you can make waypoints in just so you can get from point A to point B, as the crow flies, with directions that way. And we have tracks, right? Who loves tracks on their sonars, on their 100%. Fishing? That's just fantastic technology. And it gets you back. Look, I think about, just going out in a vehicle at night, and you got your headlights, and your headlights are shining down the road, and you only see as far as the headlights point. And then there's a turn. You have no idea what's around the next turn. You have no idea what's down the end of the highway you're traveling on. But you got your map, you got confidence, you just go, and you can drive all night and get from point A to point B, right? And just like if you're on the ocean, you after 4.5 kilometers, things start disappearing over the horizon, right? So little things start disappearing over the horizon. So you don't see where you're going, but people have been navigating oceans with a compass for years. And when I was cod fishing back in the 80s, I would, off Cape Breton, that's all we had. That's all we had was a compass and a VHF radio on these homemade wooden 30-foot boats. That's all we needed, just a compass and and a VHF radio, and we were out there in the ocean fishing 2 hours, 3 hours drive out from land. But so I think the technology is there to give us that encouragement. And now with smartphones that have satellite communications, that's pretty cool, right? And then I'm listening to this podcast about this couple that moved up to northern British Columbia, and they're 400 miles from the nearest community, but they're using, SpaceX satellite dishes, and they have a mobile one that they carry in a case in their Jeep or their snowmobile whenever they leave the cabin to go in for groceries. Going in for groceries is a 4-day operation. Get into town and get back out, right? So but they carry these satellite communication devices with them, so they can, and they leave another one at the cabin, and it's running on solar, and they can call each other. They can communicate with each other for help or whatever, updates. So, we got the satellite, we've got, whether it's a text message or a phone call, we've got GPS, we've got waste finding systems. It's pretty incredible. I think even if weather is changing and things are looking, more and more weird, it's more important than ever that we're out there monitoring that and keeping an eye on that and reporting back on that and being like stewards, conservationists, because as things change, things get better, things get worse. We need to let the scientists know. They have no idea. They're not out there. They're not out there. It's up to us to let the scientists know when there's a kill, where there's a spill, where there's some sort of disaster, a fire, a flood, beavers, no beavers, invasive species. It's up to us to report all that stuff. So it's more important than ever.
And I will say, Jay Barnucz brought up a great topic as well, or a great point. Something that you'll see out on our east and west coast and in the Great Lakes as well, is fog. And fog has a habit of coming up and condensing and concentrated in the worst of areas at the worst of times. But needless to say, yeah, the GPS would certainly help you navigate through that. Now, with that being said, Lawrence, I have to ask, from the time that you started fishing, and obviously your disability started to take hold, have you ever felt held back by any means? And has there been one piece of technology that has really helped further your enjoyment of fishing?
Oh, for sure. Look, it was in 2006 I started that blind fishing boat project, right? That's 20 years ago. And I had a folding plastic boat, and I put a Minn Kota motor on the back of it, little tiller kind of thing, electric tiller. And then I went to the auto body shop, and I got some of those reverse sensors that they were started putting on cars. And I Velcroed those to the front of the boat. And I was talking to scientists around the world who, made me a talking system to hook up to a GPS, or not a GPS, but to a fish finder, to a sonar, so I could get the depth reading, and it would talk. And I had a talking compass, and I had talking GPS. There was a company here in Quebec that is still making talking GPS systems, some of the best stuff in the world, and very state of the art. And so, I mean, I loved it, and it got me back on the water. I said, I want to be back on the water. As I was going blind, even when I was, a long time into it in my 20s, I could still stern a canoe and follow the shoreline.
Right.
And I was fine with that, or, take my tin boat out. I had a tin boat for 20 years. I got it when I was 14. I think I had it until I was 37, 38. And, I loved being on the water, but when I couldn't see the shoreline anymore, then I realized, my days of adventuring on the water alone on my own were over, and I missed that. So putting all that technology together on the boat, and then I realized I didn't really need all the technology. You just get out there, and on the right day, and there's always some noise happening somewhere on the shore, right, to zone you in on, and waves or wakes and wind and smell and the feel of the waves. And, you sort of always know where you are anyways. You don't really have to see it to figure it out. And so, I started being more and more relaxed on the water. But it's easy for me as a blind person just to step off a sidewalk onto a field of grass. And with a dogs never go in a perfectly straight line. They like to swerve. And, within seconds, I'm totally disoriented.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's like, when, it's like spin the tail on the donkey, or the piñata, where they blindfold you and they spin you around. You know how lost you are right away, right? Right away.
100%.
So you got to really think, okay, you can panic, or you can use your other senses. Like blind sailors, we use just the feel of the wind on our face to know, how to tiller that boat, so you're getting the maximum wind into your sails. The way the waves are coming onto the boat, so you're direct. That gives you direction as well. So there's a ton of things that can give you direction on the water, and listening. So I'm more and more comfortable on the water. I don't drive any boats other than my kayak. Or, I have a Hobie kayak with those foot pedals and a little rudder that I can turn with my one hand, and then I can fish with my other hand, right? And I bang into other kayaks sometimes because I don't know they stopped. When they stop, they make no noise.
That's funny.
But
and the reason I asked the question is because it doesn't seem, and I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
I talk to our guests all the time, and those who comment. You don't seem to ever put yourself in a situation where it seems like you're being held back. At least that's what the videos tell us. Now, I know there's always the real story behind the scenes that not always gets shared, but intriguing to hear that there's some advancements in technology that certainly have helped and have furthered your ability to feel confident out on the water. But hearing you being able to judge which way a sailboat goes by the way of the wind. For those who may not enjoy sailboats, now you might understand why. Maybe they're all like that. Maybe they're all judging. No, I'm just kidding.
But I have to say one thing though, and when I meet someone for the first time, there's a 3-stage process that we go through, and it's my goal to get us through the stage 3 as quickly as possible. The stage 1 is where everyone's just freaked out about me being blind, right? Like, oh my God, I can't see. Oh my God, what can he see? What can he see? What can he? Oh, he can do that. He can't do that. They examine me very closly, and then when they get to know me, then they forget. They realize, oh, that's Lawrence. Lawrence. He's just a regular guy, and then they forget I'm blind, and that's the most dangerous part. Is phase 2. When they forget I'm blind, because then something stupid happens. Like we're walking along, just chatting, and all of a sudden we're going downstairs, and I didn't even know the stairs were coming up, and I'm just down my feet, skipping, skiing down the stairs on the balls of my feet, and stupid shit like that. And then, or someone throws me something and it bounces off my head, thinking I'm going to catch it, stuff, just weird stuff, right? Nothing deadly, but it can easily happen that it can get dangerous. And then they it's a shock for them, and it's a relief for me, because the relief for me is I know they're never going to forget that I'm blind again, and they're always going to remember, yeah, that's Lawrence. He's a regular guy, just a normal guy, but he's blind. don't forget he's blind. So and I think we all compensate for our friends, right? We all have friends, and we always know their strengths and we know their weaknesses, and we got their backs. We got their backs, right?
Luke Gerard said in the comments, or instead of technologists, surround yourself with great volunteers. But I think you've taken it one step further. Make sure you have good friends, because unfortunately, we didn't get a great taste in our mouths given by you, I should say, when you first talked about your first escapade out on ice fishing, where your poor friends left you out there by yourself
on the Bay of Quint.
The Bay, and it was the Bay of Quinte. Yeah, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, we all know about the Bay of Quint.
But yeah, definitely having good friends that have situational awareness and are aware of what your weaknesses, what your strengths are. Because the last thing too, and I've felt this way around you, is you don't want to just jump and help. Although you're compelled to do that, I know you want to do it, and you will certainly ask for help when it's needed. But it's just for those who are like that, they want to jump into action and help out. And in a lot of cases,
you just observe yourself. Yeah, you just watch and you learn and you help. That's how we get along, right? We all have our strengths and we all have our shortcomings. It's just let put people in the position where they can be strong. But I will, there was a lesson I learned too when I was getting certified for scuba some years ago. I guess it was like 16, 17 years ago. I got my scuba certificate, and the instructor told me, Lawrence, you'll never be able to scuba dive. Everyone, when they scuba as a pair, right? You always scuba as with two, because if something happens to one of you, you've got the other one. And he said, no, if something happens to me, my instructor says, you're not going to find me down there. If I stop making bubbles or something happens, you're not going to find me. And so I can never scuba with just someone. I need someone to watch my back, and that person who's watching my back needs someone to watch their back. So I go down as a group of 3. And then I thought, when it comes to going out in a boat and going out anywhere, I'm thinking, okay, so this person, I got to manage their risk too, right? Because if something happens to them, can I save them? Am I going to get that boat back to the dock? Am I going to be able to find them if they fall out of the boat, they bump their head and they fall? Like I was way in the Keys in Florida, way in those, those way back in those bays and islands. And I was with a guide, and he's pulling the skiff, and we're coming over some breakers heading into this bay, and the boat drops down because we drop between 2 big waves. And just as he's pushing with the pole, and next thing you know, I hear the pole off the side of the boat, and I hear a splash. And I turn around, I'm at the front. I said, hey, Bob, you okay? And he goes, yeah. I said, he said, I was just hanging in midair, holding on the pole, and the boat dropped out from under me. And I thought I could either try to drop into the boat, but I'm probably going to hurt myself. So I dropped into the water instead. And he climbed back into the boat. with his pole. And I'm thinking, and I just said to him, I said, well, I'm just thinking, if he had banged his head or something.
No kidding. Yeah. Like, can you not do that again? How about you save the acrobatics for when we get to the dock? Yeah, what the?
He didn't mean to do it, but I think he realized too that, like if he had banged his head, I don't know if he was wearing a life jacket or not, but it's shallow water, but still, right? And the wind's blowing, and that boat I'm on is just going to blow away in a heartbeat, just whoosh. And so, there's you gotta always think about the other person. I don't just think about myself and making volunteers take risks that I can't reciprocate. I gotta manage their risks too, because maybe they're not thinking about that either. Who's got my back, right? Normally you go fishing with a buddy, you got each other's back. So we often go fishing in groups of 3. I find that is, if we're going somewhere, everyone's comfortable, everyone's a little more comfortable, which means a slightly bigger boat, right? But that's okay, because you know what? That third person's always a kid. Not a kid so much, but a young person, right? Even anyone that, 10, 8, 10 and up, that's all you need, really. Just, I need a pair of eyes, right? Just to say, hey, Mr. Lawrence, my dad fell in and he's sinking.
We shouldn't be laughing. We should.
But just manage the risk. And, most times the things happen and you laugh about it afterwards, but you got to have a sense of humor, but you got to manage risk. There's risk tolerance and there's risk mitigation, and you got to do both. You got to accept risk and you got to plan to minimize risk all the time.
So with that being said, and you've certainly given us some great examples of how technology has helped you, is there anything that you're looking forward to? Like, for instance, people say, Scott, is there a part of fishing that you want to see evolve? Is there a certain gadget, a certain tool, a certain piece of electronics that you'd love to see change and evolve with technology that would improve your fishing experience? And I'll be honest with you, my answer is no. Like, there's really nothing more that I need. Could we get a more sensitive rod? Yeah, maybe. Could live scope be a little bit more detailed in the fish that they show you? Yeah, maybe. Do I need it? No. But for someone like yourself,
but would you trade in your spot lock?
There you go. So that is one thing. Spot lock, I don't believe it could get. I guess it can get a little bit more detailed in terms of your pinpointing. But yeah, spot lock, no. That is definitely something that I have to say. We're going backwards because we're now using anchors. If we're
anchors and those floats with the lead line, and you flip 100%. It at the boat and you mark your spot. And I Minn Kota sponsored me for a long time, and I wrote them lots and lots of conference reports about my blind fishing boat, about the compass and the talking GPS and how the two could work together. And over that period, they were busy building the first Trorova with a co-pilot, right? Left, right, up, down speed, and with a remote on your wrist. And then not long after that, they came up with the GPS and combined it together on the Trorova. And that was groundbreaking stuff, right? But I like to think that's a Canadian company. I like to think I maybe contributed a little bit of knowledge towards that technology, and look how much that's revolutionized fishing. Oh. I think I love my Lowrance and the way it makes different chirps to indicate the different fish below the boat, but can you imagine if we get that with artificial intelligence and it starts to identify species of fish and sizes of fish and artificial intelligence, and instead of staring at a screen, you get that information reported to you in a way that's like a conversation, almost like a fishing buddy who says, hey, there's a 5-pound bass just below the boat about 5 feet out to the left, kind of thing, down about 10 feet.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? People would be having heart attacks, right? You'd be having constant heart attacks on your boat. But it's coming. You don't tell me that's not coming. That's coming for sure.
So and you know what? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. Like, I guess it'll be kind of cool to see where technology goes. Yeah. But in terms of bettering my fishing experience, I really don't need anything more. So you know what? I've kind of hit my limit in terms of what I need, But someone like yourself, like, I mean, you talk about voice activated GPS on both your Hummingbird unit as well as your trolling motor. I could see AI really helping with someone like you when it comes to understanding your characteristics, your techniques, that kind of thing.
Blind people are really following AI and its ability to take an image and interpret that image for you. That's huge for a blind people. This is going to be our eyesight replacement. It's artificial intelligence, a little camera on your glasses, wirelessly fed to your phone, does all the processing, tells you exactly what's in front of you. It's coming. It's no one's trusting their lives to it yet, but it's coming. But I think if you don't have to squint at a screen while you're fishing the whole time, and you can look around and there was a guy down in the States, he created this talking tackle depth whisperer, and it was a little cylinder you could tap into your back of your fish finder and it would talk. He gave one to me. I bought one off him, and I paid for the transport across the border, had to pay the tariffs and all that stuff to get into Canada. And then I gave him feedback. We went through, in a year and a half, 2 years, we made 8 different versions of that. I said, no, it's talking too much. It should only talk when this happens. It should only talk when that happens. And it got to the point where we were out bottom bouncing for walleyes with my fishing partners in the leagues I was fishing in, and they loved it. They loved it because you'd be all of a sudden it'd be drop 2 feet, and it would tell you when you start going over ledges. Right. And if it wasn't going to ledge, you would just every 30 seconds, it would just say 22 feet. And you wait 30 seconds or a minute later, it'd say 21 feet. And if it started going up or down really fast, which is hugely important for the bottom bouncing, it would tell you right away. And then it had, if you were into shallow water, it would give you a little alert. So it was brilliant, but it didn't talk too much that it was annoying. Just gave you the important stuff you needed to know. And it just made it so much more relaxing because you could prepare and get ready for what was happening and in real time without having to stare at the screen constantly. So I think this is sort of thing is coming. It's like having that talking nav thing on your phone when you're in the car, right? A lot of people like to have the turn by turn talking so they don't miss the turns or whatever.
Well, I will say you pretty much described what a Monday night is like for me running lives. Just don't stare at the screen. Just let it all happen. Just listen and you pretty much described what my job is every Monday. Yeah. Lawrence, as always, my friend, your segment flies by, and I know we're going to be talking a lot more fish topics in the near future because you've got a lot of content that I know you're working on. So I'm looking forward to that. But if you could, real quick, is there anything that you're working on right now that you can share with us?
Well, I'm just mentioning that, the Toronto Sportsman Show, you guys were talking about that earlier. And, Keep Canada Fishing is putting on, if you want to rub shoulders with the who's who of the fishing industry, the big celebrity kind of TV who, you might want to, if you got $150 you want to spend on yourself, there's a nice dinner and an silent auction. It's going to happen on Thursday night at the Toronto Sportsman Show. So it's an opportunity if you want to go and meet Bob Azumi and Pete and Angelo and those people. I'm sure they'll all be there. I hope they'll all be there. Otherwise, I'm screwed if you buy a ticket and they're not there. But
you said it, not me. No, I'm kidding.
But they show up. They show up for these
things. It's a great opportunity for those who do have that ability to do so and the means to do so.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted that opportunity to rub shoulders, as Lawrence said, here's your chance.
It's going to a good cause. It's all going to, programs that Keep Canada Fishing runs, Cops for Fishing and Canadian Tire for Fishing, things like that, right? So it's all about getting kids outside. It pays for those programs. So you're not throwing your money away. No. Well, it's money. It's a lot of money, but you could justify it that way.
Absolutely. Well, Lawrence, you have yourself a fantastic week. We look forward to speaking with you again on Monday, and of course, all the fish news that you're going to bring us.
Sounds good.
He says we really appreciate your segment, and we love listening to all of the Fishing 411 that you constantly throw at us. So until then, buddy, until next Monday, you stay safe, and we look forward to talking to you then, bud.
Thanks, man. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. We got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have. Thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural. Man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Barnucz. Jay, it's always a pleasure. And as I said, you are the anchor leg for our Monday Night Lives. I look forward to talking to you just as I do the other two. But the thing that I always sort of I get to this fork in the road every time it's your segment. And I don't know where you want to start first because there's so much that you and I have to talk about. What would you like to discuss first?
I don't know, man. There's I just enjoy the dialogue with you and the boys before I get on because I love how, and I think maybe a lot of listeners and viewers don't realize this. You and I talk about ideas about what to talk about, but I'd say most nights I end up just winging it with you because we touch on so many great topics that, and I guess I'm just a bit of an ad-libber that way. And I just get ideas while I'm sitting backstage. Like, so typically what I do is I won't lie to anyone. Like, I'm listening, but I'm not always watching. I'm usually so during the week when I drive to work, I get up really early in the morning. And so I use my hour and a bit during the CFN live to go I'll get my lunch ready and I'll get my clothes out and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But I'm always listening. I love listening. And man, there's just been some great dialogue even tonight and, listen to the guys talk and you and I do share ideas before the show about what to talk about. And usually there's a topic or two that are timely. We will touch on one, but yeah, I just tell people I'm just pretty good at winging it and just kind of hanging out and listening to you guys talk.
Well, I truly, again, that's the one thing that I truly appreciate about all of our segments is, outside of having a few videos and a few pictures that we can discuss and go over. It's great that we're able to come up with a number of topics that we do just off the top of our head. Speaking of which, something that I shared with you before we went live, I do have Christian and Aiden coming on Wednesday to discuss, what it is that we need to do. And I'd love to get your input and perhaps formulate a couple questions that I could ask these young lads. But, what is it that you guys would like to see change to get more young people involved? Obviously, we'll ask them how they got involved, what that match was or that catalyst was that got them into competitive fishing. But, with the number of older gentlemen that I'm seeing get into tournaments, start to, host events, I'm getting a little concerned, Jay, that we're not seeing that youth sort of, I don't know, take the baton, if you will. So
yeah, actually, I might as well spoil it right now. So I took our thoughts about this. We've been talking about this for a while, and I love your idea for Wednesday nights, and kind of doing a Young Guns kind of show, and I think what would be kind of cool is on that show, like just like you have guests on occasion, like you're a great host and know the right questions to ask, but your panelists could be some of these regular young anglers that we're talking about, but then have other young anglers come on and have them ask those questions to those anglers. Does that make sense? And you just kind of just corral the whole conversation, which you do a great job of. And I think that'd be a very cool dynamic, because I think that one thing about young anglers is, and God bless them, man, they got so much time on their hands to think about fishing and to think about things. And I've really seen it with Trevor, like our son. He got to a certain age where he just started to really become his own angler. Like he wasn't just in dad's shadow anymore. Like he really has come into his own, which I really enjoy fishing with him, because I'm not just teaching him. I'm probably learning as much from him some days as he's learning from me. And I really have enjoyed that a lot. And to add to that, I've actually reached out to the Sportsman Show organizers and pure fishing. And I'm doing seminars this year at the show, but there will be a seminar or two where Trevor's going to join me on stage this year. So I've set it up. They've asked me if that would be okay. I said that they actually came to me and asked if he would join me, if that would be okay. And I said, absolutely, it would be. So, and we're going to be talking about how to get people into fishing. So we're getting away from that sort of like high detailed conversation like I usually do at a seminar. And we're going to take a few steps back and we're going to talk about in our presentation. I don't want to give any spoilers, but we're probably going to talk about our relationship as anglers, the father-son, and you could be mother-daughter, mother-son, whatever relationship that is, and how and try and encourage families to build on that. And that's what our topic's going to be about at the Sportsman Show this year. So I for sure on the Saturday and maybe even on the Friday, him and I will be presenting together, which will be very cool at the Sportsman Show.
Looking forward to that. Hopefully we'll be able to tape it and share it on CFN, because as I said, more discussions like that I think need to happen. We again, and I'm only saying it because, as I said, there's always that need to invest in the future in order for there to be a future. Yeah. And we don't want to pass up the opportunity, and it's never too late to do that. No. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, what you are doing with Trevor and what we're going to try and do here as well is something that is much needed and truly appreciated, because, as I said, like when I see the volunteers showing up to some of these events, that, you know, the casting pond, as great of a feeling as it was to see all those CFNers, I'm looking around and I'm thinking, well, Erica's probably the youngest here. You know, maybe Serena, I don't know how old the two girls are, but they're probably the youngest, and they may not feel as young as we view them as, but all I'm trying to say is we're getting older, and we need to, you know, reach out to these young folks to say, hey, listen, at some point, we're not too proud to say we're going to need your help. So how do we get that help? How do we gain your interest and you know, your wealth of physical ability?
I think honestly, Scotty, just, you know, you and the CFN, you know, that collective group is a great platform. And so you have an opportunity with that platform to build on it. And I think it's kind of cool how, you know, you've always focused on getting youth into fishing, which is so important. And it's probably one of the keystones for what we're doing tonight, what the CFN's all about. I think this is just an evolution of that, where you're going to be able to use the CFN as a launching pad for some of these young anglers. And, you know, you've handpicked a few you want to work with, but it's good. It will grow. And what I anticipate is, you can put money on this, I think, is you take your CFN core that you have, and you're going to end up with a sort of a young version of that. It's almost like you're going to have, you know, kind of like a senior junior category, if you know what I'm saying. Yep. Right. So you and I will fall in the senior category. No problem. You know, and shit, man, I've been around. I was thinking about this today. Like, you and I started chatting Monday nights in 2020. So it'll be 6 years. I think April was when I did my first live with you, April of 2020, I think. Jeez, so, man. Yeah. Crazy, eh?
Oh.
So, and to think Trevor was 12. He was 12 years old when we started chatting, and we entered our first CFN fish off. Like, man, I do miss the fish off days. I and please, no one hate me when I say this, but I look back on that pandemic, and there's a lot of bad things, and I don't want to dwell on that. I like to dwell on the positive, but man, I spent a lot of time fishing with my kids, and that really built a lot of the relationships that I have now with my children. Like, it's built it to where it is today because of that time I spent at home, that time we went fishing, all those times we went fishing. And it's even built Trevor into maybe a budding career, right? Because he quit playing sports. He just got right into fishing. And that we've been doing that for 6 years. And a lot of that's because of CFN. So
I will say and this is the coolest, and I share this with just about everybody. There's one kid that I can honestly say I've really helped sort of guide down that road of where I thought and envisioned he'd always be, which is on stage. And I remember saying it the first time I met him, even at the Toronto Sportsman Show when I met you and the rest of the family. I said, one of these days, dude, you're going to be up here. And there was no prouder moment than to see the two of you at the Spring Fishing and Boat Show, conducting class. I thought that it was just, what a feel-good moment that was.
And buddy, there's no bigger venue to me, and I'm a little biased, but there's no bigger venue in Canada to do a fishing seminar than Saturday at the Toronto Sportsman Show. That is the biggest day of fishing trade show world in Canada. And I love it. Like, it's like, that's like the best day of the year for me in terms of getting and meeting with people and talking fishing is Saturday at the Sportsman Show. Like, when you walk in there in the morning and you know it's coming, you know the wave of people's coming. And when that day's done, man, you are tapped right out because you have talked to so many people, you've told so many fishing stories, and you're tired, but you're so fulfilled. And being able to share the stage with my son for an hour on that Saturday, that's going to be amazing. I look forward to it. So
wow. Well, I'll tell you, I'm not sure who's going to start crying with that story, but I'm so proud. I'm so proud of the kid, and Trevor's going to be a huge part of our Thursday nights Wednesday nights as well.
Yeah,
we want him to chime in as well, and I love the direction we're going because, as I said, I think, to your point, I take a look around and there's a lot of us seniors and not enough of us juniors. So
it's true. And I will give a shout out because my little daughter here is in the background. She's chiming in. So it's her birthday in a couple weeks, and so she wants the world to know that. So she's, as much as I will have to say that in our house, thanks to Stephanie, her birthday is probably the biggest day other than Christmas. And I'd even argue it's bigger than Christmas, just because she does love her birthday. Stephanie has a gift. If you tell her your birthday, the date, she will remember those dates. She just, some people are like that. She can do that. Like, if I tell her someone's birthday, she will remember their birthday, and she will remember to remind me it's their birthday coming up. So, but for her birthday, and usually we're at the Sportsman Show, but this year it doesn't quite fall on her birthday. Her birthday's like a few days before. So, but I expect she'll get a few happy birthdays at the Sportsman Show this year, which is
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that. Right on, Steph.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done everything. The only one that we haven't spoke of is Heather. We've left Heather out. Is there anything that we should mention about Heather? Have you had an anniversary recently?
No, we haven't had an anniversary recently. We're in this really neat phase of our life where, so Trevor is doing a co-op placement at the building where Heather and I work. Now, he's not working with either of us. He might do some work with Dad when the weather gets nicer, but he's working with the invasive species program in Burlington. And it's great because a lot of the guys and girls he's working with have over the years worked for me, which is honestly really easy to imagine because I've been there for so bloody long that I've trained so many students and technicians over the years. And so he's coming with us every day to work. And it's kind of neat getting in the car every night after work and driving home and being like, so instead of like, how was your day at school? It's like, how was your day at work? And hearing, like today he was doing like health and safety stuff. We all have been there, health and safety stuff. And as redundant, maybe that's the only word I will use, is redundant as some of that stuff is, there's a reason why that stuff's written. You are in a job where you don't want to have to write some of this stuff down, but someone down the line made a mistake, and you have to now make sure that mistake doesn't happen again, regardless of how redundant that mistake might be. Does that make sense to you? You got that?
I will go so far as to say that I am so long in my career that I'm at a point now where even if I did something that was unsafe and got caught in a bad predicament, I've got about a dozen ways to talk my way out of it.
You know, I made a joke to some staff the other day that some of the stuff that I did early in my career, like where I put boats and how I put boats into those water bodies, we're never doing that again. That data will never be replicated. Like no one will ever repeat that sampling because no one would ever dare to use a winch and a John boat in that manner. Does that make sense, Scotty?
I'm picking up what you're laying down.
And I could never explain how to do it where anyone can do it. Like it is, I did some risky stuff, and I'm not the only one in my field that speaks like this. Okay. So, but you know, those days were then, and these are the days we have now, and stuff still gets done, man. They do a lot of great work, and but they got to do it safely. And he's at the other end. He's at the other end of the ladder from Dad. Yeah. He's starting, right. So, awesome. But he loves it. He's been helping them like get boats ready and get you know, just all the kind of stuff. He's outside almost every day doing stuff, even when it's cold. Like they got him outside doing stuff. He's doing fish ID in the lab, learning fish ID. I'm not teaching him. He comes to me with questions. He has to learn it. Like there's skills you have to learn for yourself. So he's doing all that on his own. So it's cool, and it's nice just for the next few months till he goes off to university. Because dude, he's going to go to university, and I ain't going to see a lot of him anymore. Let's be honest. Yep. Like if he's anything like his dad, he's going to get the bug and just gone, right? Yep. So I'm going to enjoy the next few months. Heather and I both will enjoy the next few months, and I know she enjoys going to work with him every day, and we're enjoying it. So
cool,
absolutely.
Man. Oh,
yeah.
Where do you go on from this? That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so behind the scenes.
Well, let's talk about the Great Lakes now.
Okay, so this was something that you shared on the weekend. I didn't download it in its entirety, but I did get some snippets that I wanted to share. I'll share this one first, and then maybe after we watch it, we'll talk a little bit more about it, because I know you have a lot more information than I do.
In the fall of 2020, Great Lakes Now took you to Traverse City, Michigan, where 3 aging dams had been removed from the Boardman-Ottaway River, a tributary of Lake Michigan. Here's what Traverse City Director of Public Services Frank Deturi told us at the time.
There is no greater ecological bang for your buck than removing a dam, because what it does to the ecological environmental systems by segmenting a river system, keeping populations apart, warming the water on the backside of the dam, stopping the movement of nutrients both directions up and downstream.
The goal was to restore the river to its original form and reconnect it to Lake Michigan. The first dam came down in 2012, and by 2020, the former reservoir was returning to a more natural state.
Once you remove the dam, you have all this organic material, organic soils with a seed bed that's been sitting there for 100 years or so, and then you add sunlight to it, that energy and the organic materials in the sand, it's like this ecological explosion that you're seeing. It's absolutely amazing.
After the dam removal, researchers saw an increase in the number of native brook trout, and that's a good sign.
When you see brook trout in your stream, you know you probably have the best ecological conditions for fish.
Is that true, Jay? Would that be true?
Well, first of all, let me say this. The fish in the clip were not a brook trout. It was a brown trout and rainbow trout, but that's okay. This is true, though. So why I shared that with you was last week, I believe it was last week, and actually Steve might follow along with this. So on the Ganaraska River, there's a dam. Now, there's hundreds of these old dams in Ontario. Ontario alone, there's hundreds, okay? Or there have been hundreds, and some have been decommissioned. Garden Hill Dam on the Ganaraska. So Garden Hill is a little hamlet on the upper Ganaraska watershed. It's actually up on the top of the moraine. That dam, now I've never been there, but I know it's in the headwaters of the Ganaraska. And it's an old dam, and it's a liability, because one thing to think about with dams is dams are owned by usually by the municipality or M&R or both, or some sort of hybrid. The Garden Hill is actually a hybrid between the county, Northumberland County, and the Ganaraska Conservation Authority. They co-own it. And so the dam is not serving its purpose. It was an old mill pond. It's not a mill pond anymore. And so the dam is a liability. It's a structure that needs to be either replaced, repaired, or taken out. There's 3 options. And so right now the Northumberland County is looking at what's called an environmental assessment. Now, environmental assessment doesn't just mean it's the environment itself. The environmental assessment will look at all parts of the process. It will look at the fish, like the watershed, the ecology. It'll also look at humans and what does the dam serve? Like, does it provide flood control, for example, right? Is it still working as a flood control if there's going to be flooding, things like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of these old dams, if they can be taken out, and there's a cost with that, there's a cost to decommission a dam. It can cost millions of dollars to take it out, which is, that's taxpayer money. However, in the end, for most of these dams, if you take them out, in general, you will improve the healthy watershed. The health of that watershed will improve. And you saw it there, like that whole green space was all a big reservoir, right? And when they removed the dam, all that sediment was left there. Now there's issues with that sediment. It could get washed into the main river further downstream. It could silt over spawning beds. What they didn't go through in that process was when you take a dam out, you have to structure it in a way where you can control that sediment flow downstream. A lot of times what they'll do, Scotty, is they'll take the dam out in sections. So they'll allow the sediment to flow downstream and wash away. So there's not a big flood of sediment coming down.
Makes sense.
But in the end, quite often what happens is in that stream bed up the middle of that meadow, basically, there's still gravel. Like there's still going to be gravel there that was the original stream. And so once you can wash that sediment away, you will expose that gravel. And here they talked about exposing the old seed beds. Now look at the forest. All that natural succession is coming back in. And all of that's just going to make that river healthier. Now, we want to protect brook trout and other native species, but dams have positives. Sometimes dams keep out things like sea lamprey, right? So, or maybe we don't want competing brown trout and rainbow trout with our native brook trout. So it's not a blanket thing to do. You have to look at all of the pros and cons. Each dam requires these assessments done so that we can look at all of the pros and cons to each dam removal. Other than humans, other than costs, you have to look at, like, is it worth taking it out? Because, and I think there's some, like Norval Dam on Bronte, there's native brook trout upstream. They don't like to pass any of the salmonids like the rainbows and Chinooks and coes up over that dam because of, now I think some fish do get over that dam, and don't quote me on that, but I think so. But we are limiting the number of those sort of naturalized, they're not invasive, they were brought here, but they're naturalized salmon and trout species that could impede on brook trout. Because remember, for folks that don't realize, the only native salmonids in the Great Lakes, like in the lower Great Lakes, is brook trout and lake trout and the whitefishes. And then in Lake Ontario, Atlantic salmon. Oh. That's it. Rainbows, browns, Chinooks, coves, pinks, they all were brought here. And some of them some of the original stockings of rainbows was back in the late 1800s or even earlier maybe. But, brook trout was king. And they weren't ever that big here. Like there was some big brook trout, but not big like Lake Nipigon brook trout. We're talking in the lower Great Lakes down here. Like we target brook trout. You catch a 12-inch brook trout, that's a nice one. You get a 16-incher, like you might as well put that on your wall. Like that's Absolutely. A big one, right? Yeah. And so we need to protect those fish. And I think Lawrence talked about the right to fish, like that. Like we as anglers have a right to fish. I also do believe that we have a duty to protect these native species, right? And I think that protecting brook trout is good. And brook trout are also seen as a major, because they're so sensitive, like they're a good barometer of the health of the watershed. If your watershed can sustain brook trout, you're doing a good thing in that watershed. Does that make sense, Scotty? Like, yeah, I think that, never mind fishing for them, just having them there tells you that you've done a great job managing that watershed. It's so important to have those brook trout there. I believe that. Yeah. That's not just me as a biologist. That's just me as an angler. I think that knowing the brook trout are there And I know a lot of my angling friends around here feel the same way. Like, we have some great steelheading locally here, but we also have some very sensitive brook trout populations that, it's not a bad idea to think about the options of, do we want steelhead in all of those tributaries? Because they might outcompete those brook trout and the brown trout too. Brown trout are ravenous. They are actually, they're highly piscivoric, meaning they eat fish, like especially at a certain size, and they can really outcompete brook trout. So these are all things you have to look at. So it's not just, I'm not saying Garden Hill Dam should come out or not. I actually haven't researched it enough, but I've had a lot of people reach out to me about Garden Hill Dam from both sides of the discussion, whether the dam should come out or stay. And I just kind of suggested to them that there's so many things to consider. Get involved with these environmental assessments, because this is not government happening in a closed door. These assessments, there's public open houses. You can go to your councils. You can not just have to speak, but listen to the different sides, so you can make an educated decision on, make an educated opinion on what side do I sit on, right? You may not be a landowner, but if you're an angler, just because you don't live in the Ganaraska doesn't mean that you don't want good fishing in the Ganaraska, right? So I think that anglers just need to learn to use their voice, and not just on social media, but get involved. And you've done this. We've talked about this before. We could talk about, challenges with walleye in the Kawarthas, right? That's a whole can of worms right there. But, you are not afraid to go and speak your mind to someone that will listen to you about how you think. It doesn't mean that you're right. It doesn't mean that I'm right. But it's listening to those opinions. And that's what I love about these environmental assessments, these assessments that are done, because they incorporate everyone's opinions. Does it mean that we'll get the answer that we want? Maybe not, but at least you said, at least you were engaged. At least you weren't just at home on your keyboard complaining about it. You actually got out and got involved. I think that's the important message when it comes to these situations.
Absolutely. Well said, Jay. To get to some of the comments that were made here, Sonia, I think dams, as we know them, although they all inherently took on a water management job, if you will, or at least it had water management at the heart of the existence of a dam. They weren't always set up that way. Obviously, they are to maintain and hold back water to run something. It could be a windmill, a turbine, just about anything. But I don't think they were always built for the sake of managing water. When it comes to that, Jay, are those dams that were designed to run a mill or produce power, are they easier to take out from a blue tape perspective?
Not real. It depends on the size of the dam. I think that is the big issue. Like, so I can think of dams. I know of dams like locally here, especially. So you have mill dams. Some of them were lumber or sawmills. Some of them were flour mills, like actually grinding up the local wheat that would come in and make flour. There was a couple around here that were actually old hydro dams. Before we had like Nanticoke generating station, we had to have hydro. And so there was old hydro dams around here. Very few of the dams were actually managed, like these small dams, like these, I call them mill pond dams, like every town has a mill pond. Like if you think about, oh my God, like little towns like Strathroy, St. Mary's.
Even Milton. Milton's not a small town anymore, but Milton's got a mill pond.
Yeah, and so all those ponds have history. It's really cool, actually, because back in the day, without those rivers or streams, these towns wouldn't have become the towns.
Exactly.
Like, we needed the water to provide, basically energy to mill, or even transportation, right? Like even Big Creek and Delhi here was used to carry lumber. Like there's huge old logs out in Long Point Bay that came down Big Creek, just like they would do log drives out west. Like all of these little ponds where we live all the places we live in Southern Ontario, they're full of these little dams. Now, these little dams, Scotty, they're so small, but they're so problematic because you have to. It's so costly to take them out, and quite often there's. And I'm not knocking anyone here. I'm being very Swiss on this. There's usually a group of people that don't want them gone. They love them because it's picturesque, right? Like there's a beautiful pond. They have a bridge, maybe some swans. Like it's beautiful, but underneath the water, you have old contaminants that have been there for 100 years. And a lot of these dams that I'm talking about, these dams are 150 years old. Like, because that's the only time a lot of the dams were only built probably in the mid 1800s. Let's be honest. We're in 2026.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these dams were built, and some of these dams were built like in the 1900s. Like some of the ones around here were built like in the 20s and 30s. So they're only they're 100-year-old now, but they serve not much purpose anymore, and they need to be maintained. There's a local dam here on a local Lake Erie tributary, and it's in Victoria, which is Youngs Creek, and it's a small. Well, I just shouldn't say it's a small dam. It's a small stop log dam, Scotty.
Yep.
But it's a huge. But actually, the main dam itself is an earthen berm. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And so now there's water coming through the berm, like seeping, and it's a small system. But you get one. And this is, I think, why this is getting more press. You get one big storm, one big Hurricane Hazel. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And when that happens, and listen, this is the thing about dams. You can argue about dams all you want. Mother Nature will fix that dam for you because she will do what she wants.
Absolutely.
And you can take whatever side you want. And it's better to deal with it before that happens because you don't want all that sudden silt coming downstream and literally filling in the channel like it's happened. There was a massive dam blowout in Michigan, an earthen dam 2 years ago. I had friends in Michigan DNR who were involved in that, and they had to go rescue fish and mussels that were like people, the entire lake, like you saw boats laying in the mud, like that dam let go. I'm not even sure what's happened with that since, but it's some incredible footage when that, and it was because of heavy rains, right? So, and you don't want it to get to that point. I almost guarantee that dam has been under review for a long time with a lot of what if statements. What if this happens? What if that happens? And it happened. And I think that's what has municipalities, and they're not reacting. They're not doing it rashly. They're trying to plan it properly. But I think in the end, though, for anglers out there using these watersheds, get out there and get involved. Like these processes are for us to get involved with our elected officials for sure.
100%. There's another part to the that I want to share that the video has, which I think is even more interesting than the discussion that we just had about dams. But Sonia, just to answer some of the questions before we play this, why can't you add trees to rivers to create habitat?
Oh, well, you actually can, and we do all the time. So Sonia, what we do a lot of is, and I say we, like the collective we, a lot of stewardship groups do this now, is actually when you, if you saw in that video, they were electrofishing around some like old root wads. And I was looking at that video, and I think those root wads are actually put in place because what happens is, okay, when you drop the dam down, when you drop it down and you lose a lot of those old trees are gone. To stabilize the channel, you have to put trees in the channel. Like you'll actually take logs and line them in the channel to get the channel moving the right way, like deflectors. Does that make sense, Scotty?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Because if you don't do that, and in fact, a lot of our streams in Ontario now, our floodplains are so narrow. There's not a lot of big trees anymore that can fall in, because trees falling in the river is a natural process, and it helps to stabilize it. So these are all in it. There's actually, if you go out and get involved with Sonia, if you actually want to, like right there, yeah. So I think those might have been placed there, and I know that
I agree.
I know that some groups, like if you get involved with, oh my gosh, what are they called now? They used to be called Trout Unlimited Canada, but they're called
Ontario Streams.
No, Ontario Streams is one. Oh,
Okay.
so in Ontario Streams is a good one. So Doug Foder at Ontario Streams is a good one. This one here, I'll share this in the chat. They used to be called Trout Unlimited Canada. Now they're called Freshwater Conservation Canada. Same group of people. But if you want to get involved with stream restoration work and you want to get involved with, some of this dam removal and dam assessments and stuff like that, these are some of the groups, and they're always looking for help. Always. And they live off volunteers. And in fact, when I was Trevor's age, I used to go to help out with these groups locally around here, and we would pull debris out of the stream. Like we pull some of the debris out, Scotty. Does that make sense? Like some of the woody debris out, but we leave the big pieces because those are helping to stabilize the banks.
100%.
Yeah, but I encourage, if I had time, I would be out with these groups doing this kind of work. And most of this work is done in the heat of summer when the fish aren't spawning. And it's also when you're in a cold stream, it's nice to be in there on a hot day, if that makes sense. And I encourage folks, if you want to get involved with some stream stewardship, some of the groups I posted, they have chapters across Ontario. Get involved. If you really want to see some cool stuff, and there's a lot of people in those groups that are retired fish biologists, you will learn a ton about fish and stream ecology from those retired folks that are out there now leading crews doing stream restoration. It's amazing.
It is cool. So I want to get to the second half of the video. Because I think this really opens up a new outlook, and we talk about technology all the time. This creates something that I think is unique. I have heard of it being used elsewhere, but not to the extent of where they're going with this. I think this is really cool.
Couldn't move between the river and the lake. They were still separated by the Union Street Dam in downtown Traverse City. The plan at the time was to replace that dam with a state-of-the-art research facility called Fish Pass.
Now, Fish Pass, this is where this just goes into it. I'll let you talk about it because you know far more about it than I do.
Well, basically what's happening now is when you have these types of dams and you want some fish to go through, but there's some fish you may not want to go through. And how do you do that? And we talked about this with Coots Paradise in Hamilton, right? With the carp barrier. That's an example of a barrier that is modified to allow certain things through and certain things not through, right? So low head dams for lamprey, like in Coburg, for example, like they have the lamprey can't get up over that dam, but salmonids can. The challenge though is that there's so many native species that also can't get over these dams. And so when you're going to see in this video with Fish Pass, it's going to talk about how they're using new technology to allow different species of fish to navigate these dams. And it's some very cool stuff.
So I didn't download all of that because that was extensive and there was a lot there for folks to take in.
Yeah.
But to Jay's point, they'd come up with different ways to allow certain fish to go through certain areas of the dam. So in other words, if they were trying to hold certain species back, maybe they would accelerate the water, like they were talking about the lamprey eel, that if it's too strong, if the flow is too strong and there's not enough sediment that they can latch onto.
Surfaces, like if it's a smooth surface, they'll use their suction, their mouth to grab on and kind of work their way up. But if you make the surface a certain texture, they can't latch onto it as easy. Round goby don't like high current at all. So that's one way of keeping goby out. They'll use bubblers. They'll use bubble curtains to direct fish into certain areas. I've seen them using, they're doing some really cool experiments on dams in the St. Lawrence with lights to help control where the American eel go, right? We don't like the American eel in the St. Lawrence is a big problem, right? With dams. Yeah. And they're playing around with lights, using different types of lights to direct, because they don't like the light. So it's like pushing them certain areas of the dam to allow for better passage. there's just some amazing technology happening out there too. So we're not just protecting like trout and salmon. We're trying to protect all native species while also not helping invasives, right?
100%.
So yeah, and so there's just the Great Lakes now, they have a YouTube channel and they are just full of cool videos like this. And they do a good job of explaining how the research they're doing and how it applies to us every day. And I think it's just fascinating to see that. So
it is. And to further the technology that they were talking about in that video is they're actually going through the process of creating fish identification apps that would be able to identify the fish to allow a door to open or a trap door to all of a sudden allow passage for that fish. So basically, if the fish knows the secret code, the door opens, you know, Iggy behind it opens the door, says, yeah, by all means. Very, very cool. I love that idea of technology, especially when we're talking about invasive species. And Sonia, yeah, it does seem that a little bit more money is being spent to the south. I'd like to say it's because they have more of it to spend. Would you agree, Jay?
I think so, but I also think though that, you know, perspective is everything. And I think that for us here, you know, they might have bigger problems down there. They have more people.
Right.
So when you have more people, you have more problems. I'm going to just put that right out there. So, you know, even in Southern Ontario here, there's not as many people per square meter as other places in the US. And I think that, you know, our problems aren't as big as theirs. And let's be honest, man, we got some pretty healthy fisheries here.
Amen.
Like we really do. We're just trying to give them a helping hand. And we're trying to do that in a way when it comes to dams. We're trying to fix things before they get worse.
Amen.
And so, and we can't do it all. And I think the big concern right now is as we're going through, as our climate continues to modify, man, we're getting more and more storms.
Yeah.
Like we can argue about how that's happening. At the end of the day, the climate's changing and we are getting more storms.
Amen.
And we need to, these old structures are not as strong as they were 100 years ago or 50 years ago. Amen. And so we need to manage them before we have big problems. So.
Well said, Jay. Well, listen, we've come to the 2-hour mark. I don't want to keep you any longer than we already have, but I know we could talk about this all night, and I would love the ability to do so. But we do have to get on and allow folks to get to bed and move on with their evening. So, Jay, as always, I want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you again next Monday.
Thanks, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, baby. Sounds good.
All right.
Right on. Well, that's the end of our show, folks. I'm not going to keep you any longer than I need to. Again, we will be posting on Thursday our contest for the first fish of 2026. A lot of entries, so I do have to update the list of names just to get verification that folks have qualified and that they are on the list so that there's no discrepancy. But at the end of the day, if we don't see another fish posted from Thursday on, it'll be the following Monday that we do the giveaway. And it's quite a little prize pack. So if you have caught a first fish of 2026, or you know somebody that has, make sure you steer them towards CFN because we'd love to have them enter. You will see that post go up on Thursday. Tomorrow is Trout Tuesday. Looking forward to seeing all the edits that the boys have put together. And, of course, Walleye Wednesday on Wednesday. But you already know that. I don't need to tell you. But I want you guys to have yourselves a great week. Stay safe, as Jim says. Have fun. Get involved in fishing. Get involved, like Lawrence says, in some of the issues that are affecting your fishery locally. I think it's important as anglers that we become the stakeholders that we are and should be. With that being said, love you all. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy your week. Dave, take us away.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.